down with the muses behind the music. You will be inspired to think higher, realize your gifts. Join the muses and Michelle, Adrena. Turn us up and through your speakers is the muses of music.
Welcome, everybody, to the Muses Behind the Music. I am your host, Michelle Fallon, and we have my distinguished friend, Queen, and our guest tonight with us, the practitioner. I call her my breath doctor, Paula Potts. So good to have you. So good to
thank you, Michelle. You know, I'm delighted to be wherever you are. I'm happy to be here.
Go ahead. I appreciate that. So listen, what you all just got done listening to were the ladies called Rose, who won the jingle contest for the Muses Behind the Music, and I'm going to have them on the show in May so that we can talk about them and their lives coming up. Good people you're watching, you're listening, because we are live today. I want you to go on ahead and share, spread the word, whatever it is that you need to do, whether you're on Facebook, if you are listening through Apple Music, through Spotify, subscribe, the YouTube channel, like us, love us, shoot those hearts up, spread the word. You know, as a singer, we talk about this principle of breath. You cannot sing without having the intentional breath. But we're going to dig a little bit deeper into all the things that I learned from you, Paula, on my journey. And I'm hoping that the Muses, our audience members, that you're in a comfortable space, that you're able to, take as much distraction as you possibly can. I know that you are inside your homes, or you might be at work, wherever it is, and you get, the noise. And I'm trying to be as comfortable and relaxed as possible in this environment so that we can do the work that's called for us to do in this very short amount of time. All right. Miss Paula, go ahead, because I know you've got a special way of opening up your...
Yes. Opening up every project, every interview, every segment that I ever do. And because everything begins with breath. Yeah. Right? Everything. Where there's breath, there's life, right? Everything begins with breath. And so I am delighted. I'm glad you asked me to start this conversation with a breath that I have created called the blessing breath. It's a part of the Feel Better Challenge, which is self-care practices for daily living. And so we're going to do that right now. And you just said the most important thing to start, and that is to get comfortable wherever you are. Yeah. Ground your feet, relax your shoulders and your arms and your back, and kind of, settle in. Right. And then cross your hands. Well, first, rub your hands together gently. These are your healing hands. And I want you to understand that you're using your hands with a healing intention in the Feel Better Challenge, right? And so now place your hands over your chest, right over left. And you're just going to take a nice deep breath and say the blessing mantra, blessed be, just 2 words, blessed be. And we're going to do that 3 times together, right? At your own pace, nice and slow, really. So let's do it. Nice inhale and exhale. Blessed be. And once again, blessed be. And then again, blessed be. Maybe you get a little bit deeper, a couple more. And then maybe you feel kind of an expansion, a flow, waves of energy moving through your being. I say the purpose of blessing breath is to invoke the divine, to bring divine love, to invite God into your being as you go forth into the world. You bless yourself so that you can go forth as a blessing. Now, what I didn't share with you that's important to know about the blessing breath is that you can also extend to others, right? Okay? So you put your hands together like the praying hands, and you do take a breath. And bless others, blessed be. And you say it to someone you love. Someone you don't love, for that matter. Right? You want to bless and be a blessing, right, in the world. Even when you're standing in line somewhere and you see a stressful event happening, and you don't want to really go into that stressful energy, right? You can send the blessing, blessed be. You can send it forward to someone in a stressful situation before you go on social media, on Zoom.
Come on before going on social media, because the amount of things that we see and we experience, and people are, very personal sometimes and putting out a lot of different energy. And just because it's on the internet, don't think for one moment that you can't experience different levels of energy. So yeah, I'm all for that too.
That's a little bit of protection, if you will.
Absolutely.
Divine protection.
Self-love and energy, and that, I'm appreciative of that. So many of us just don't even hug ourselves. Like
right. And do that gently and lovingly. Do it lovingly. You let the tension out of your shoulders and your arms and your upper body, your lower body for that matter.
Let's get a little bit personal, if you don't mind. I want to share with the audience again that you and we had a meeting well before you became my breath doctor. So to come into your church and play for your church. And, I had a wonderful building relationship with you over the course of the years. And I had no idea that you did this thing called breath and the art of breathing. And so I went through a huge battle for 2 years with reflux. So speech pathologist and friend Laura Verdun, who I had on last week's session, I jacked up the word terribly, so I won't even do that right now. We'll just say LPR, because she might be listening. LPR, and I went through this 2-year battle where I lost all of my singing voice. I literally had 6 notes. I was doing self-rehabilitation with gaining back the voice and the strength of singing. But then you and Laura were a huge part of things that I didn't even recognize that I needed. But how did you get to this space? What brought you to, studying the breath? Let me note too that you are also a singer. You are also a singer. And so that was important to me, that you understood the depth of what was happening with me mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically, to be such a grand part of the healing process.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that, Michelle. I really didn't realize that impact, and I'm just delighted because, you've been my muse through all these years as well. Working with you was phenomenal. Having another classical singer in the midst who could sing and play and direct and conduct and do all the things you do changed my life, and it's been a light in my life for all these years. So I want to get that said first. But you're absolutely right. It's very personal for me. Breath work is. I say it saved my life. It literally saved my life, and it saved my voice. It saved my life and it saved my voice. And what had happened was, in 1988, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, right? The pain that never stops. Nobody knew what it was. Everybody called me crazy for saying I was in pain all the time. Doctors, you name it, lawyers. So I had a really rough time for 5 years.
Wow.
I got worse. And the pain that started on my left side became pain everywhere in my body, including my face and my hands. So imagine trying to sing through the pain and contraction of fibromyalgia. Well, to make bad matters worse, after 5 years of nobody getting it and not getting the real help that I needed and having very painful treatments, I started having panic attacks. Regularly. So it was the panic attacks that brought me to the breathing. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what it was. I was at the National Rehabilitation Hospital in the pain clinic there. And the head of the clinic recommended me to a psychometrist, a Dr. Fitzgerald.
Okay.
And Dr. Fitzgerald, thank you, Jesus, hallelujah, had a treatment modality that he offered, which was biofeedback, right?
Okay.
People have heard of it, and I just don't understand why more people don't get to benefit from biofeedback training. Well, I did. This was in the early 90s. Okay, this is 20 some years ago. And a part of that was something called progressive relaxation breathing. That's where it started. Progressive relaxation breathing, which was actually a form of mastery of breathing. Wow. Because I had to learn how to do continuous breathing, to flex and release every muscle in my body while continuously breathing for 20 minutes.
Wow.
Without stopping. 20 minutes of continuous breathing. It took me 3 months to learn how to do it, practicing twice a day. Sometimes it took me upwards of an hour, at least 45 minutes to do a 20-minute exercise. But can I tell you, it was worth it.
Yeah.
And by the grace of God, I knew I was being divinely led to this thing, right? And so I did it. What else was I going to do, right? I was completely disabled. I didn't have a job, a marriage, or anything. So this is what I did every day for 3 months. He guided me through it. And at the end of the 3 months, I had fewer panic attacks. I knew how to disengage, the panic response much better. And my pain was less.
Wow.
And so that's what I want your viewers and listeners to understand. Breath work is useful for panic, anxiety, pain, depression. I mean, it covers the waterfront. Well, and so, yes.
Can I just say, and not to interrupt you, but that hit me in a way because I have students and I know people who are performers who suffer greatly from anxiety before they come on the stage. And
exactly. And I was one of those singers. I was a very anxious, nervous singer, being a classical singer, in the African-American world that wasn't so popular. You know about that. Oh, so I had a lot of anxiety around that. Yeah. So, but this breath work was a miracle in my life.
Yeah.
And what I did was I kept doing it even after I left the doctor.
Right.
I kept doing it because it was such a big help. I spent 10 years in full-time therapy, 2 to 4 times a week, 10 years.
Wow.
I breathed through all of it. Even when the practitioner said, "Oh, you can stop breathing now," I said, "That's all right. I got this."
Wow.
Okay, I'm going to breathe through all of it.
Why not release that a little bit? Why so much breath? And I'm not saying it in a negative.
Well, I actually, no, I understand that. It's an excellent question because that's what people ask. First of all, they say, "Well, why did it take you so long, for it to help? And, why do you have to do it so much?" Well, I actually love doing it because I love the way it makes me feel.
Yeah.
I love that calm. And, I've had fibromyalgia all these years, for 30 years. So I still have the pain. I still have a hyperactive nervous system. I have cold sensitivity. If I get cold, the pain. So I'm breathing my way out of these situations. In this last year, there's been so much stress and anxiety. We've all been bombarded with fear and anxiety with this COVID thing. And so it's important nowadays to do a daily breath. You don't have to do it a lot. I don't do the 20-minute thing every day anymore. You're right. I don't have to. And that's what Zentabulous is, because Zentabulous is about self-mastery. So I've actually created a different baseline for my breathing. But I enjoy doing it. It makes me feel good. It helps to detox.
Yeah.
Whatever is in the way in the moment. And there's been a lot in the way.
I love that so much because we don't channel into what is already there. You were the one that told me this because I was saying to you too, I'm having such a hard time sleeping and I don't know what to do. Part of the problem was I had too many other distractions that were around. The television was on, and I always felt like I needed that noise, but the light from the television would bother me. It's like, you need to learn how to breathe.
Because we're overstimulated.
Yeah.
And when we're overstimulated, we're on hyper alert. So our sympathetic nervous system, the nervous system that takes us into fight or flight, right, is really overcharged. And so the deep breathing helps to access the parasympathetic nervous system, which balances that.
Yeah.
And so it brings you into a calm state, what we call alert, though, and calm, not,
right.
Not zonked out. I mean, you can use it to go to sleep, but you can breathe yourself into a place of calm that also has an alertness about it. And that also gives you emotional clarity and mental clarity.
Yeah.
So it's really, really important.
The older I get, and I'm still now even doing vocal coaching with Janice Ateme, and we talk about this all the time, the more I start to realize that there's such a greater connection mentally and spiritually.
Oh my goodness.
The breath that I need to have.
Yes.
That I need to be constantly thinking about the fact of and actually giving appreciation and thanksgiving to the Creator.
Yes.
Time that I allow breath in.
Yes. Go to the head of the class. Yes, you got it.
So important, but I really want other singers to get this. I want them to get that understanding.
Well, here's a couple of things to contrast that little bits of information before we actually do that, right?
Yeah.
And a couple of things. We contrast shallow breathing versus deep breathing. And what we know is that most people from the age of 4 or 5, we unlearn how to breathe properly. 80% of the population, I don't mean any of you guys watching, breathe improperly, right? So let's just start there, because they're breathing up here in the upper chest.
Yes.
So they're not engaging the diaphragm, and they're not engaging the parasympathetic nervous system, which helps to calm everything down. And they're not getting enough oxygen. We are not getting enough oxygen, people. Guess what? Less oxygen, less energy. That's why you're tired and fatigued and depressed. Oxygen deprivation, number one. So deep breathing allows you to absorb more oxygen into your body and therefore into your bloodstream. Shallow breathing does not. Okay. So then we have nose breathing versus mouth breathing, right? So now as singers, you know that exhaling is what singing is all about, right? Controlled exhale. So we know that singers exhale through the mouth. That's sort of how we get the singing done, right?
Yeah.
However, there's a challenge, a question about whether or not we should inhale through the nose or inhale through the mouth. Some do one or the other or both. I think you do what works best for you, what you train yourself to do, and hopefully you've tried different things so that you know what works best for you.
Right.
So the nose breathing is not considered optimal for our health, inhaling through the nose. Because the inhaling through the mouth, inhaling through the nose is for optimal for our health. Because there are things that happen when you inhale through the nose that don't happen when you inhale through the mouth. And one of them is the little nose hairs. They're part of the filtering system. It keeps the dust and other toxins from getting into your lungs. And then there's another part of the filtering system that happens as the air comes into your lungs. So that's not in your mouth, right?
Yeah.
And then there's the production of nitric oxide in the nose, right? It gets produced in the nose when you breathe. That increases your absorption of oxygen.
Wow.
That increases your absorption of oxygen in your blood circulation. It also has antiviral properties, according to modern science. So there's so many advantages. When you breathe through your nose, you automatically engage your diaphragm. It's automatic. And you always want to engage your diaphragm when you're breathing for your health and when you're breathing for singing, right?
Right.
So we got to practice this nose breathing. So let's just do that for a little second. I just want you to see the difference, right? So close your mouth and just breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. Always do everything 3 times. So what do you notice? That your diaphragm hopefully naturally expands, right? Okay. So breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. Okay. Which is okay. You still get that diaphragm connection, right? And that feels sort of calming, right? Centering. Your breathing is right along the midline of the body. So it's centering and grounding. Now hold your nose and just breathe through your mouth. Where do you feel that?
Yeah, right here.
Right here. Nothing happening down there, right?
Wow.
So that's just an illustration. And so what I encourage people to do, first of all, before we get to the continuous breathing or the exhale first, which I think is one of the best things to be doing now, is to observe your natural breathing rhythm. Get in touch with your breathing baseline. How do you breathe? Through the nose, through the mouth, deep, shallow? What is the nature? And so the practice for that is something I call the Zen Scan for breath. So what you're really going to do is just notice. That's rule number one. You're just going to notice your natural inhale and your natural exhale. And you can close your eyes. I'm keeping mine open for demonstration purposes. Notice your in-breath and your out-breath. And where is it mostly located? Is it shallow? Is it naturally shallow or naturally deep? Do you naturally engage your diaphragm or do you not? Are you breathing through your nose or your mouth? So rule number one is to just notice. Rule number two is to observe lovingly. Okay, this is about reverence for the breath of air and the breath of life, honey, and your natural breath. You gotta have reverence for that, right? And so you observe lovingly. I often just smile while I'm doing it. And then you bless whatever is there. Bless be, bless your natural breath. And after you're with that, after you just give a little attention to that, again, soft hands, soft shoulders, soft, body, no tension, right? And then when you relax that, then you notice what your natural breathing rhythm is now. And it may have shifted. Sometimes when you just put your attention on something, it does a self-correction. It reorganizes itself.
Right.
That's the beauty of human design. That's the way God made us. When you get a scratch or a burn, you don't have to tell it to heal itself. It's going to heal itself from the inside out, right? It knows how to do that.
Right.
Okay? Well, our body knows how to self-correct, and just being in touch with it, using your intention to feel better, your attention, your focus on it, and your awareness, what you're noticing, can actually create a shift and help you to feel better. So now you have a baseline.
I know that as a singer, that there are regimes that I have to place myself into before a performance. I'm very strict about the kind of music that I listen to, the intention of just getting my mind into that space. I'm certain that as a dancer or other instrumentalists, or whatever you do as the performing artist, why is this so important for us to know the rhythm of our breath? I can answer that for myself, but I think a lot of people, there's such a deeper meaning that's there that I just want you to share.
Great question, because you can observe when it's different. That's why. Period. You can observe all of a sudden you start breathing fast, as if in panic and anxiety. You can notice when your diaphragm is not really working for you that day, because something went wrong in your breathing mechanism. For some reason, things are tighter than normal. So it's important to be able to notice the difference, the changes, because we don't think about that. Who thinks about their natural breathing rhythm and how important it is?
I sure didn't until I came to you. That wasn't a thought of mine. And here's another thought for women who are going through their menstrual cycles and they have to perform. I mean, cramps, just crazy. Let's just say we want to focus on our reproductive area as women.
Absolutely. And the diaphragm is much closer than the upper chest, right? And the diaphragm puts us in touch. Singers, we exhale, and the exhale is where that contact with the parasympathetic nervous system comes in. So while you're singing, actually, you're sort of relaxing yourself. But here's the other thing about the parasympathetic response is a cooling response. I have clients on the table getting body work, energy body work, and they need a cover because when they relax, they start to cool down. That's that parasympathetic. It can have a cooling effect. So right there is another benefit. The body mechanics, the chemistry of it all of that matters. The rhythm of it all.
Yeah.
How slowly, actually the slower the breath when you're practicing breathing for health and perhaps even breathing for singing.
Yeah.
When I'm doing a lot of breathing for singing, I do a lot of vibrating on the breath. And there I can take a deeper breath, and now my chest cavity is opening more from the vibration with the breath. It's like humming You know, humming is good for singers, right?
Absolutely.
Because it allows you to open up if you hum up in your head, or if you vibrate in your chest and your diaphragm, it allows you to create openings, and you create space for the airflow.
Wow.
That supports the breath. You need the space. As a fibromyalgia sufferer, I have to do that all the time.
Wow.
Because I'm constantly going in and out of contraction, physically in my muscles,
right?
Particularly in my face. So, which means that all the tension around my sinuses, where the airflow has to vibrate. So you have to open up these spaces, and you use a deep breath that's not in the throat. Okay. That's resonating in, various chambers, resonating chambers in the body that help you to create more space.
So glad you're saying this, because it just makes me think that, singers, we're normally thinking, all right, I'm humming because I'm just trying to get the chords phonating and get that breath over the chords, releasing anything that might be sitting on top of it. But I'm always looking for ways of more support. And so when you're talking about the vibration and you were also like shaking your body too. Is that a part of just the release of?
Yes. And it's a natural thing. That's why shaking is one of the 5 things of the Feel Better Challenge, because shaking is actually natural. Our bodies would do it naturally if you didn't hold on to it.
Yeah.
We feel ourselves shaking, we think something's wrong. So we stop it.
Interesting.
And actually, it's better to let it shake and let it move. And then it's going to go through the complete cycle that energy needs to go through in order to achieve completion, and then bring ease.
Yeah.
Because you're letting go of restrictions.
Awesome. This is
letting go of physical restrictions.
Yes.
And we have a lot of physical restrictions, because the minute you get to the venue, I had a little commentary that I prepared about, the act of singing versus the act of performing, right? So you may be well rehearsed, and you did all your vocalises, and you did all your rehearsal of the songs and material you're going to perform. And on the way to the venue, the traffic is backed up and you're 10 minutes late or longer. You're stressed by that. You get to the venue, you're supposed to be paid, and you don't get paid before you go on.
Oh my!
You have a microphone issue or a band issue or whatever it might be. So now your performance may be affected or impacted by situational stressors. It has nothing to do with your technique necessarily or your rehearsal. But now you need to discharge that energy of stress and anxiety, because the audience can't know, right? Singers, performers, they're not supposed to know when we're stressed. They're only supposed to receive the gift of our voice and our message into their hearts, from our hearts and our souls. That's what we're there to do.
Yeah. This is why I know that this whole breathing is it's so crucial. And I have applied it to my life, because everything that you just named, I have been through all of those situations before. And just the fact that you have a practice, a regime that allows you to release that energy, because the audience will feel it. You talked about the Feel Better Challenge. Tell us what that is all about. What's the Feel Better Challenge?
Well, the Feel Better Challenge really is a call to action. It's a self-care call to action. It really started out as 5 things. Number 1 is breathing. Number 2 is grounding your feet, connecting to the earth. Number 3 is visualizing, seeing yourself successful or happy. Number 4, listening to the heart. And number 5 is shaking, what we were just talking about, letting go or surrender. And so these are self-care practices for daily living. I have exercises that go with all of these 5 things that you can use on a daily basis. They don't take long, to perform. And so it's really something you can do. And the Zen Scan is a part of it. The blessing breath is a part of it. Right. And now I've added to the Feel Better Challenge something I was divinely guided to create.
Wow.
I was going to a conference to actually present my book. And, I've always as an energy medicine practitioner, my challenge was always converting what I had learned so that people could use it more effectively. Because the language of energy medicine wasn't very friendly, wasn't very user friendly.
Right.
So the Feel Better Challenge was my answer to making energy medicine practices, concepts, principles, and ideas more user-friendly. And all of my techniques are based on the principles of energy medicine and designed to be user-friendly. So here's what HeartMath says, and I want to read this.
Mm-hmm.
Focusing your attention in the area of your heart can help shift the heart rhythms to a more coherent pattern, which signals the brain to calm down, become more synchronized, improve mental capacities, reaction times, situational awareness, memory, focus. And my favorite, access to intuitive intelligence.
Wow.
Okay? So when you have time to think it through, there's hard focused breathing. Once you get used to tuning into the energy of the heart, pulling the brain into coherence, you will get insights that tell you what to do in the moment.
Wow.
So you're more prepared.
Wow.
You can take the charge out of a situation. You can calm things down. It's amazing stuff, Michelle. I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't been living it for 5 years.
Yeah. I keep saying to you, when we've been in conversation and just you sharing with me so much of this, I'm like, yo, this is so deep, but it's not deep to the sense that it's just like, I can't follow. It's deep to me into the sense that, it's right there. It's in it's in our body. Like we have this, we don't need to purchase it.
No.
All we need to do is understand.
Yes, that's it. That's it. That's it. It's right here. And it's so empowering. Now I'm not afraid to go out in pain. I'm not afraid to have a panic attack. I'm not afraid. I'm pretty fearless like I've never been before because I can breathe my way through most anything.
Somebody was saying, now we're going to have to figure out how to relieve the virtual singing stresses. And I think this is all a part of it too.
Yeah, it's all a part of it. And, again, we only have a certain amount of time to cover all of this, but that's a part of it. When we come to Zoom, when we come, it's stressful. When we put on a mask, oh my God, it's stressful. And while they're saying that masks don't, affect the chemistry exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide and all that, so don't worry about it. What they are saying, what the experts are saying, is that why it's stressful is because it's uncomfortable in general.
Yeah.
It creates anxiety, just the idea that we have to wear the mask and to wear it while singing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Not even the singer's mask does it.
Just the idea of it is a mental stress.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important to be able to calm yourself down, to go into your heart, to bypass all of those negative thought processes and bring in some positive thought processes. And that's a part of another technique that I use. Can't get them all in today. But yeah, there are things you can do. And that's really the important message of this podcast today about breathing and singing and breath. So there are things you can do.
Here's a question that had come in that I really want to ask, because this has happened to me 1,000,001 times. They said, what happens when the breath stacks up and hinders the approach to the high notes only in performance? Because I think in part, I know for me, when that takes place, I play mental games with myself. And I know when the high note is about to come. And so I have already told myself some things in my mind that are now affecting physiologically what needs to take place in the body and the mind and the spirit for this high note to be where it should be, to allow them to be free. So what can you say to help continue releasing the breath? Because this is not something that they go through in rehearsal. You don't have the same.
Well, that's the demands of performance. The performance does. That's why I contrast just the act of singing itself and the act of performing. And again, I think it's kind of an individual thing, though, in terms of the high notes, because for some people, there's just generalized anxiety around that. And so things, again, start to tense up. So that's, again, about relaxing into it spiritually, so that you trust yourself.
Yeah.
Because, fear can creep in the moment. You're right. Right when you're trying to hit that note and all of a sudden, I'm not going to get it.
Yeah.
But then now that whole stress moment. So you have to work on that.
Mm-hmm.
You have to work on not allowing the fear of your technique not working.
Yeah,
Because
I'm so there right now. Like she really hit on that point to me that opened up my mind to just in a different space, to know that I have to be in complete gratitude for every single note that comes out, because I am singing on the breath of life that the Creator is putting in.
Right.
And that's it right there. That really is.
And it becomes about allowing. You know, energy medicine, energy work is about allowing the breath of life. So recognizing that you're not in control of everything.
Right.
So you allowing that breath to go up into that higher resonating places.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's there. You rehearsed it. It's there.
Yes.
And we just pull that in because, you know, self-doubt, you know, those kind of things get in the way. And so you need to be your own cheerleader in terms of, you know, debunking some of those.
Yeah. Learning how to love ourselves in the process of it. That's really not a very easy lesson. I know that it's not an easy lesson for me. I'm used to like giving. I will give and give and give. But when it comes to the giving of Michelle and the self-care, these are self-care practices right here.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Practices. Absolutely. I have to do this more and, appreciate. Thank you, God, for the gift. It is not about me. This is about you. So every time through me, I have the nerve of me to be nervous about anything or to allow to get into the way, because this is not me. This is you.
Yeah, and that's about ego.
Yeah.
You know, coming out of ego and staying in spirit, which is the breath of life, but also trusting the process. Yes, you're absolutely right.
Process.
Some of that is purely psychological and not so much physiological, but they work hand in hand.
I want our listeners, again, to know about your incredible book, Zentabulous, The New Age Fabulous.
Yeah.
Zentabulous by Paula Potts. Y'all, go on out there and get your book. I believe you put in there that it's available on Amazon.
Yes, it's available on Amazon.com, and I have copies as well.
You all know how to get there. As well, I want to remind folk about the first book that you put out yesterday when I was crazy. And as you give your account for the things that you were battling through and pressing through, and just how amazing, touching and tapping into this breath of life.
Yes.
God energy that's already there.
It's already there.
Your life. It saved your life. And just as much as what it can do to benefit all of us as artists. If we sing, those of us who might dance, you might play an instrument, you might be a sculptor, a painter, whoever you are. I think that the more that we learn how to breathe through it, then we are freeing ourselves and opening ourselves to the beauty of the creative moment.
It's life-changing. You know, as the scripture tells us, he breathed into the nostrils the breath of life.
Yeah.
Okay. And then he breathed the Holy Spirit.
Thank you, God.
You know, I mean, that's the breath of life.
That's the breath of
life. Yeah, the breath of life.
What would you do to close us out of this session of breath energy?
Well, you know, what I always close with really is two things. I have two personal mantras. And one of them is God is bigger and love is the answer. Okay. God is bigger than any challenge as a singer, as a breather, as a human being walking through life, even walking through this COVID respiratory reality check.
Yeah.
And wearing the mask and social distancing. You know, God is bigger than all of that.
Yeah.
So tune into divinity. The other mantra, personal mantra, is love is the answer to everything.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's all kinds of love, forgiveness, compassion, kindness, support. Just being still when somebody needs you to just be there.
Yeah.
Love takes so many forms. So before you do anything, before you speak, before you sing, before you act, before you get on social media, Zoom, think loving thoughts about yourself and what you're about to do, and extend love in the world. We need more of that in the world.
Yes.
And as always, as we say in the Feel Better Challenge, I always close with blessed be. Blessed be.
Blessed be.
Blessed be. be, everybody. Blessed be. Bless yourself and be a blessing wherever you go. I love you, Michelle. I love the work you're doing.
Thank you.
This podcast is amazing.
Oh, praise God. Bless you for that. Thank you, Phenomenal Muses, for listening in. Blessed be to all of you.
To all of you.
Until next time.
Until next time.
Blessings.
The